There are several different types of cognitive dissonance. The first one is counter-attitudinal, which means that you have two attitudes that are counter to each other, that disagree, or you have one attitude and one behavior that aren't consonant, they are dissonant, they disagree, and it causes this tension. So an example from me is a few years ago I was getting my car washed, and to me, tipping is very important. Been there, done that, worked at a low minimum wage job, and so tipping is very important to me. There we go. So as I'm getting my car washed, I get distracted and I drive off. And as I drive off, I realize I completely forgot to tip that poor guy working in 100-degree, temperature on my car. And then I start, and I feel really bad about that. And then I start telling myself, you know what, maybe he missed a spot. Maybe he didn't do such a good job. And then I realized I was just rationalizing and that, no, I really should have paid him his tip. And I continued to feel bad. So the next type is post-decisional dissonance, or after a decision. So post-decisional dissonance is kind of like buyer's remorse. So it's one reason why that sometimes we don't have buyer's remorse. So remember, one reason that we experience dissonance is when we can't change something. So just like when there's no returns on a product. So I'll tell you, when I bought my wedding dress a few years ago, I liked my wedding dress a lot, or else I wouldn't have bought it. But after I purchased it and I couldn't return it, I loved my wedding dress. I thought it was the best wedding dress ever. Why? Because I was stuck with it. I better have liked it, or else I would have made a really stupid decision. Maybe you're trying to decide between this person, and dating that person. Or, well, maybe you chose one person and it better have been the right decision or else, right? So you find ways to make it the right decision. We change our attitude. All right, then we have justification of effort, which justification means reason, and effort, well, means effort. So you have to think of a good enough reason or justify how much effort you put into something. So say like a relationship, right? If you have worked in a relationship so hard to stay in this relationship, and it's been a long relationship and you've been together for a long time, it is really hard to let go of that relationship. Even if it's really not working for you anymore, because you have to justify how much time and effort you have put into this relationship. It's one of the reasons people might stay in bad relationships, because they've invested so much effort into that relationship that it would be like losing something if they left. Give you a silly, smaller example. Say it's about to snow, and you trudge through, the snow and the ice to get to class anyway. And maybe it's normally an okay class, but that day, meh, not so good. But you put forth a lot of effort to get to that class. So to justify that much effort, you kind of convince yourself that it was a great class. It's wonderful. Hazing, perfect example. The harder we make you work to join our group, the more you love it. Okay, so now we also have insufficient justification. Insufficient, not enough. Justification, reason, which means you don't have a good enough reason to do something. So the classic example is the Fessinger and Carl Smith study, where the people who were asked to lie for $20 were like, yeah, I lied for 20 bucks. That's a good enough reason to lie. I hated that study. It was boring. But, I lied for $20. People who lied for $1 were like, I hate the thought of myself lying. It's not a good enough reason to lie, $1. So they convinced themselves, they changed their attitude, that it really was interesting. Yeah, that's right. I'm not actually lying because I did like it. To think of a real world example, teachers, right? Teachers get paid very little, but they often say how passionate they are about their jobs and how much they love their jobs. One of the reasons they may love their jobs, in addition to really good reasons, may be because they're actually being paid less money. Because the less good a reason there is to do something, up to a certain point, you do it anyway. You kind of make up a good reason. All right, then the last one is insufficient punishment. Similar thing, not a good enough punishment to not play with that really cool toy. So the kids who are asked to not play with a toy and are given the threat of mild punishment, I'll be disappointed in you, and they don't play with a toy, they have to ask themselves, why didn't I play with that toy? It's not because I was really going to be punished, because, that's not really that bad. It's because I don't like that toy. So if you want to change someone's attitude, say speeding, right? People speed and then they get caught and punished, and it's a big punishment. It's several $100s. But if you want people to not want to speed in the first place, then maybe milder punishments may be better, because then if they don't speed, it's because they tell themselves, I'm not speeding because I don't want to, not because you're going to give me a harsh punishment if I do. So think of all of these examples, and they happen all the time. So here we go with our examples of cognitive dissonance.